In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. It was here, on the slopes of Mount Doom, that the Dark Lord Sauron was defeated by a last alliance of men and elves.
Have you ever had the desire to slip behind enemy lines in Mordor and strategically take down a giant Uruk army? Or at the very least, have you ever wanted to step inside the Tolkien universe and decapitate countless number of Uruks? If the answer is yes, then Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor is definitely for you. Shadow of Mordor boasts vast open landscapes, incredibly enjoyable fighter mechanics, and a solid story that will have anyone who is a fan of the Tolkien series excited. This game is Monolith Productions' second foray into the Middle-earth universe, but is their first as a third-person action RPG. Shadow of Mordor takes place between Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It begins with a brutal introduction where the main protagonist Talion, an ex-ranger of Gondor, is witness to the violent ritual execution of his wife and son, ultimately ending in him losing his own life as well. In death, Talion is bound to the ghost of a mysterious elf, returning him to the Middle-earth to seek vengeance against Sauron and his army. With some familiar faces popping up now and again for those Tolkien buffs and some impressive new characters, Shadow of Mordor tells a well-acted, strong story. As Talion, you'll traverse across vast environments of Udun and the Sea of Nirn. Each area features gigantic Uruk strongholds, dark and dank caves, and a spattering of ruins from an older time. The first environment of Udun is a very dark and drab-looking landscape, really showing how the devastated land of Mordor is. Although when stepping into the second area of the Sea of Nirn, you'll be gifted with a bright and colourful green setting, showing that there is still some life left within Mordor. As you progress further into the game, you will gain the ability to ride two different types of fiends, the smallish dog-like Caragors and the massive Grogs. This definitely adds another element to the traversal of the areas, especially the Caragors, and after riding one of these beasts, you will never feel like being on foot again. What makes Shadow of Mordor such a special game is the Nemesis system that Monolith has introduced. As you battle your way through Sauron's forces, you will be introduced to captains. Captains are special Uruk soldiers that can be found throughout Mordor, who are part of an Uruk army hierarchy, having the ability to make their way up the chain of command and become war chiefs. What the really special thing about the Nemesis system is that captains and war chiefs actually remember you. They remember if they have fought you before, if they have escaped your grasp, or if you have escaped them, and especially if they have killed you before. This prompts a small cinematic event and a couple of lines of dialogue when meeting them on the battlefield.
I'll make you whimper like a child, begging for mercy.
If you let a captain escape you or defeat you, they will become stronger and make their way up the Uruk ranks. Killing one of these captains makes them drop a rune that can be slotted into one of your weapons to make them more powerful, although if they kill you, even if it's just a random Uruk soldier, they will level up and become a more powerful captain. The Uruk forces also have a grand internal power struggle that allows them to rise through the chain of command without any of your own influence. Although Talion has the ability to interfere with their duels, executions, hunts and more, to sway the battle in your favour by helping the captain you want to win, or take down the captain that has been plaguing you for some time. Each captain has their own random list of weaknesses, strengths and fears, with some being invulnerable to range yet weak to stealth finishes, or terrified of fire yet has the ability to regenerate over time. It was fun to exploit a powerful captain's fear of Caragors to have him running in fear, which makes for an easy victory for me, although there were some captains and war chiefs that seemed near impossible to take down, with a litany of strengths and not a weakness in sight, but despite how powerful they were, eventually they all did fall to my all-powerful ranger. At the beginning, you will not know the faces, strengths and weaknesses of the Uruk army, and only by facing them in battle or gaining intel on them will you begin to learn the hierarchy of command. As you move further into the game and come upon the second area of the Sea of Nirn, Talion and his elf friend realise that they are able to mind control Uruks. This opens the hierarchy system right up and grants you the ability to take captains and war chiefs, along with their small armies, under your control. This was excellent as I had the ability to pit Uruks against one another, creating power struggles and turning bodyguards against their masters, making me feel powerful and in complete control of my enemy. The combat of Shadow of Mordor is easily one of the best aspects of the game, clearly drawing inspiration from the amazing mechanics of the Batman Arkham series. Talion will hack, slash, dodge and counter through countless enemies, and pairing that with some powerful wraith abilities that he gains along the way, combat will feel very powerful and satisfying as you decapitate Uruks in some gruesome ways on the battlefield. This is definitely not to say that Middle-earth is an easy game. Getting overrun by hordes of Uruks was common, especially earlier in the game if you let the Uruks raise the alarm inside one of their strongholds, or when I hadn't unlocked some of the more powerful abilities. Along with diving headfirst into battle, Talion can always take the more cautious approach, and sneak in using stealth to take down his opponents, using his dagger he is equipped with, and along with his wraith-powered bow he uses for dispatching enemies from a distance. With the wide variety of ways to dispatch enemies, I often found myself using all three weapons as I infiltrated Uruk strongholds during missions, or to get that special captain that had given me problems in the past. Talion also has the ability to go into a special Wraith Vision mode, kind of like Detective Mode or Eagle Vision from the Batman games or the Assassin's Creed games. This will allow him to spot enemies through walls or mark captains from afar. Along with the main story missions that shouldn't take all that long to complete, there are a slew of side missions. There are Uruk power struggles and collectibles that will have you spending quite a bit of time within Mordor. I clocked in at about 25 hours to finish everything the game had to offer. The side missions included hunting and foraging quests, freeing slaves, and sword, dagger, and bow missions that will help you upgrade your weapons as well as tell their story. Each of these side quests are paired with a bonus objective, and completing these will net you additional points to upgrade Talion's 2 skill trees. Throughout the map there are Wraith Towers that act similar to Assassin's Creed's viewpoints and allow for fast travel between them. There weren't too many gripes that I had with Shadow of Mordor. The game had me from start to finish, although there were a few aspects that had me getting a little frustrated while playing it. Talion's major source of healing is from picking random botanicals that are littered throughout the map. It was odd to have to run away and pick some flowers every time the masses of Uruks were overrunning my ranger. I also found some areas of the map that just weren't climbable. This often came in the form of a 4-foot ledge that for some reason Talion couldn't scale, or Uruk stronghold buildings that Talion refused to climb. Shadow of Mordor is a dark and gorgeous trip through the depths of Mordor, telling a brutal story of revenge paired with the amazing combat and a bevy of collectibles and side missions to pursue. The Nemesis system is an excellent addition to this open world, and seeing what they could do with it in the future is very intriguing. Monolith Productions have built one of the strongest Tolkien games ever made, and despite some minor flaws, Shadow of Mordor is easily one of the best games of the year.
He has returned to Mordor. Shadow and flame have fallen on the Black Gate, and no mortal man can stand in its path.
We give it a 9 out of 10.